You know, maybe we should think more about what we do with our house and our yard. I was reading the other day that all the chemicals that we put in our yard, the stuff you wash off the driveway, even walking the dog, all those things can result in pollutants that end up in our waterways, like our rivers, our streams, even the bay.
Well, I guess it makes sense that when it rains, all that stuff gets washed away. I guess it's got to end up somewhere.
That's true, and we're all contributors. It's a shame. We love living near the water, but it's us that ends up polluting it.
Well, then maybe we should learn more about these pollution sources and what we can do to reduce our contribution.
That sounds like a great idea.
It's hard to think about Florida and not think about water. Water defines this state. The ocean, the Gulf, our bays, our thousands of rivers, lakes, and ponds. They're all a huge part of life in Florida. A chance to live, work, and play on or near water is why many of us moved here. That's why many of us stay. And water provides more than a lifestyle. In Florida, it provides livelihood. Water is crucial to our tourism, agriculture, fisheries, and many industries, all main components of Florida's economy. Florida simply wouldn't be Florida without water. That's why preventing water pollution is important to all of us. For much of the 20th century, industrial waste and sewage were main causes of water pollution. Some manufacturers routinely dumped harmful chemicals and other materials into the nearest river or lake. Cities often did the same with raw or barely treated sewage. The result was that many waterways, including sections of our own Tampa Bay, became so polluted that some could no longer support fish or other aquatic life. But by the 1970s, in large part due to the burgeoning environmental movement, public awareness about the impact of water pollution began to grow. Shifting public opinion prompted new rules and regulations, so that by the 1990s, state and federal governments had cleaned up most of the obvious pollution sources. While those actions helped greatly, the problem of water pollution has not gone away. Today, the largest source of pollution for most parts of Florida, including Tampa Bay and the rivers, lakes, and streams that drain into it, is what we call stormwater pollution. Stormwater is simply rainwater after it hits the ground. This water either soaks into the ground or it runs off, down the street into a storm drain or across the land into a water body, such as a river, lake, or pond. Along the way, the water picks up lawn pesticides and fertilizers, dirt and debris from construction sites, tire rubber, motor oil, and other chemicals from the street, and waste from dogs, cats, and wildlife. The storm drain system is not connected to any treatment plant, so any pollutants go directly into whatever water body is downstream. The same is true for runoff that drains across the land into a water body that's not part of the storm drain system. This means the pollutants are reaching many of the same places where we like to swim, boat, and fish with our families and friends. And the pollution source doesn't have to be in the immediate area. Our rivers, lakes, and streams receive their water from a watershed. A watershed is the area over which water flows before eventually reaching a common, larger body of water, such as a bay or gulf. Pollutants initially draining into one body of water could end up affecting another body of water dozens of miles away. What's the impact of water pollution? In some cases, it's mostly aesthetic. The water may smell bad or have a strange color. But even if the pollution has no immediate impact on fish or other aquatic life, it can still diminish our enjoyment and use of the water. And many times the pollution's effect is much more severe. Chemicals can cause fish kills and endanger other animals that live near or depend on the water. Debris can clog the water's natural flow, which can cause flooding. Debris also can disrupt and sometimes change the surrounding ecosystem. Excess nutrients from fertilizers and animal waste can produce abnormal vegetation blooms, which can choke off a water body's natural plant and animal populations. In short, water pollution can ruin the very thing that makes Florida, Florida. Industrial waste and untreated sewage, which at one time were major causes of water pollution, were known as point sources because the pollution came from a specific location or point, making it relatively easy to identify and clean up. Stormwater runoff, now Florida's largest cause of water pollution, is a non-point source. This means the pollution is usually spread across a wide area, and as a result, it's much harder to clean up. Polluted stormwater runoff can have many adverse effects on plants, fish, animals, and people. Sediment can cloud the water and make it difficult or impossible for aquatic plants to grow. Sediment can also destroy aquatic habitats. Excess nutrients can cause algae blooms. When algae die, they sink to the bottom and decompose in a process that removes oxygen from the water. Fish and other aquatic organisms can exist in water with low oxygen levels. Bacteria and other pathogens can wash into swimming areas and create health hazards, often making beach closures necessary. Debris, like plastic bags, six-pack rings, bottles, and cigarette butts, washed into water bodies can choke, suffocate, or disable aquatic life, like ducks, fish, turtles, and birds. Polluted stormwater often affects drinking water sources. This, in turn, can affect human health and increase drinking water treatment costs. Household hazardous wastes like insecticides, pesticides, paint, solvents, used motor oil, and other vehicle fluids can poison fish and other aquatic life, and people can become sick from eating diseased fish and shellfish or ingesting polluted water. Pollutants are carried untreated through storm drains or over land to our neighborhood water bodies every time it rains. Even pollution from miles away can impact us as runoff makes its way across the watershed. By now, most of us understand about the potential health, economic, and environmental issues associated with water pollution. But what many of us may not know is how we contribute to the problem. At home, when we use pesticides incorrectly or over-fertilize our lawn, we're adding those chemicals to the stormwater runoff. We do the same thing when we blow grass clippings and leaves into the street. Dumping oil, painting materials, or household cleaners into the gutter or down the storm drain is the same as dumping them directly into a river, lake, or pond. Remember, by law, only clean water is permitted in the storm drain. Dumping anything else is illegal and is known as an illicit discharge. An illicit discharge, even one that occurs accidentally, can be punishable by fines of up to $10,000. If you see an illicit discharge, you should contact your local environmental or water quality agency as soon as possible. Make certain you note the location of the discharge and the approximate time and date you noticed it. Pet waste is a huge problem for stormwater runoff. 4 out of every 10 homes in the United States have a dog. These 72 million dogs produce an estimated 40,000 tons of waste every day. But surveys show that less than 40% of dog owners pick up after their pets. This waste carries pathogens and nutrients that are bad for the environment and people. We also can contribute to water pollution with some of our activities at work, like pressure washing a building with bleach, hosing down a restaurant's greasy floor mats in the parking lot, storing leaky drums or dumpsters near a ditch or pond, or washing equipment residue into a storm drain. Construction, pool maintenance, landscaping, and vehicle washing are all activities with the potential for creating pollution that can eventually enter our waterways. It's probably safe to say that most of us would never deliberately do anything to cause water pollution or harm our neighborhood lakes and ponds. But many of us simply don't realize how many of our everyday activities contribute to the pollutants carried in stormwater runoff. Some people might be tempted to question how much harm can be done by over-fertilizing one lawn, or not picking up after one dog, or using bleach to pressure wash one building. That's a good point. But we don't live in isolation. Our whole community drains to the same place. It's not one lawn or one dog or one pressure-washed building. Our activities are magnified hundreds and thousands of times by the activities of our neighbors in the community. So, what can we do? As individuals, we all personally contribute to pollution, even if it's by accident. It's our responsibility to reduce our individual contributions. Now, while this may seem like one more task in our lives, a lot of what we can do is simple. To start the process of reducing pollution, we must look at our daily activities. Here are some examples of things we do where we can make simple changes. Maintain your car or truck. All that oil, grease, fluids, and gasoline can leak onto the ground and wash directly into our stormwater systems and ultimately our water bodies. Drive less. Combine errands when you drive. This also saves money, especially with the cost of gasoline these days. Cut down on fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides. Excess fertilizers and pesticides applied to lawns and gardens wash off and pollute streams. In addition, yard clippings and leaves can wash into storm drains and contribute nutrients and organic matter to streams. Don't overwater your lawn. Consider using a soaker hose instead of a sprinkler. Use organic mulch or natural pest control methods whenever possible. Compost or mulch yard waste. Don't leave it in the street or sweep it into storm drains or streams. Replace part of your lawn with native, drought-resistant plants. You can learn about Florida-friendly landscaping where putting the right plant in the right place and reducing turf areas can reduce impacts to stormwater and reduce your lawn care time. Your county extension service office can be a great help for you. Pick up after your pets and keep animals out of streams. Pet waste can be a major source of bacteria and excess nutrients in local waters. When walking your pet, remember to pick up the waste and dispose of it properly. Pet waste should be flushed or deposited in the trash. Leaving pet waste on the ground increases public health risks by allowing harmful bacteria and nutrients to wash into the storm drain and eventually into local water bodies. Support your local stormwater or surface water program. Programs to maintain a community's stormwater system, prevent flooding, and protect natural resources may cost money in the short run, but save money in the long run by preventing damages to public and private property. Take advantage of opportunities to educate yourself and your family about your local watershed. Consider volunteering for stream restoration or other community projects. There may be a local pond or stream that needs a makeover or cleanup. Maybe consider replacing some plants in common areas. Get to know your neighbors and improve your community. Recycle or properly dispose of household products that contain chemicals such as insecticides, pesticides, paint, solvents, used motor oil, and other vehicle fluids. Many local governments have locations to drop off these materials or have amnesty days. Support conservation buffer areas that slow water runoff, trap sediment, and enhance filtration within the buffer. Buffers also trap fertilizers, pesticides, pathogens, and heavy metals. And they help cut down on blowing soil in areas with strong winds. In addition, they protect wildlife from harsh weather and buildings from wind damage. At work, even in an office, we can recycle materials, properly dispose of hazardous waste, and be prepared to clean up spills. Most commercial facilities have requirements for preventing pollution. Learn what your business is doing. If your house or business has a septic tank system, There's special care needed to protect both the environment and your family. Leaking and poorly maintained septic systems release nutrients and pathogens like bacteria and viruses that can be picked up by stormwater and discharged into nearby water bodies. Pathogens can cause public health problems and environmental concerns. Inspect your system every 3 years and pump your tank as necessary every 3 to 5 years. Don't dispose of household hazardous waste in sinks or toilets. All of these activities are simple and, once implemented, easily become habits. After all, we can all make changes for the better. It benefits the community and you as an individual, and it helps us maintain our quality of life.
So I guess it's pretty easy to reduce our pollution. Just give it some thought and change our habits. I can do that.
I think it's worth it.